So a couple of new faces today. I'm Adam. I run BD Matters, which is our community. And it's all, basically it's a talented bunch of business developers, salespeople, and demand generators. And so we offer exclusive content, training, meetups, and events to grow your BD skills and your pipelines. And each month we take on a different topic. So this is our monthly industry interview. It happens at the same time every month. If you did want to join each month, I can put a link into the chat, and you can add this to your diaries, which we'll do now. So today's is all around harnessing the right MarTech and sales tools to drive new business, which is, a growing and ever more complex landscape, as I'm sure you guys will all agree. And so we want to get into that. So I've invited a couple of people along with me. So we've got Nick Washbourne from Force 24, got Aline from Outbase, Jason from Flowbird, and hopefully we'll have Brett. I don't know if Brett's there, or he's joining us shortly from Leadoo, and I'm sure he'll be coming in due course. So I'm going to pin those guys, and one by one, do you want to do short intro? So Jason, we'll start with you, if that's all right.
I saw this slide.
Mute.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Jason Rainbird from Flowbird. Apparently, it's always the first person that sets the scene for what everyone else has to say. So we are a pipe driver and marketing automation specialist based in Southeast England, based in Ashford in Kent, 15 strong, been going 10 years. So yeah, and we specialise in CRM agency work. That's us.
Perfect. Aline, do you want to jump in and go next?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm the marketing director for Outbase. Outbase is a software for prospecting, which allows you to prospect over 286 million professional contacts across the world. Outbase was launched last year, but it's brought to you by SoAmpli, which is a company, a social prospecting agency that has been on the market for 8 years now. So Outbase is born from the expertise.
Amazing. I think we've got Brett now as well coming in. Nick, do you want to jump in next?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Nick Washbourne. I'm Commercial Director at Force 24. So we're a marketing automation company. We've been going 13 years now. I've been involved in the business for 12 years. So I joined when we had 8 clients. We're now up to 625. So it's been a very interesting journey. But my background before that was always sales. I'm very passionate about sales. So it's really drew me to BD Matters, because I know at the real heart of that is the passion for sales and reflecting the art of sales as I see it in a really positive way.
Cool, thanks, Nick. And Brett, I think you're here now. I'll add you in, and to do just a quick intro.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I was having joined. I don't use Zoom anymore. I use Google Meet, so apologies for joining late. I'm the country lead for the UK market at a company called Leadoo, and we are a conversion platform. Currently have over 1,000 clients. In terms of my sales background, been in sales for around sort of 12 years now. I actually used to work with Nick at Force 24 as well. So yeah, quite a bit of extensive experience.
Wow.
Hopefully.
Oh, sorry to hear that. All right, guys. Well, let's jump in. So I've got a bunch of questions, and obviously, if you've got questions in the for the Q&A sort of later, or sort of want to jump in throughout, do raise your hand or stick a question in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer it. So I thought I'd start with you, Aline, if that's all right, throwing you in at the deep end. But yeah, just basically giving us a bit of an overview. I know it's a big question, so other people can jump in on this, of the current tech landscape for thinking about lead gen, pipeline management, nurturing, the whole thing. Give us an idea of what's out there and what's available.
Well, I wish I could give you an idea. I'm still trying to find out myself, but there's so much out there. And I think especially with AI, you get only know, let's say, the traditional tools that you had before, as like prospecting platforms, or even like tools like LinkedIn Sales Navigator or social media itself. But you also have chatbots, you have web chats, you have multi-channel platforms where you can run, and you can also like split prospecting, let's say nurturing prospecting, from actually nurturing marketing content like through CRM. So I think there's like loads of tools, and some of them are very specific at what they do. Some are a bit more dynamic, providing a bit of everything that allows you to run, let's say, end-to-end campaigns. If you're like, let's say, a new company, or you have a small team and you just like need one tool that does a bit of everything, you also have those options too. So I think in my opinion, on all sides, like, what are you trying to achieve? What are the resources that you have? Then for sure there will be a solution out there for you now, because every day we see like tons just like popping from here and there everywhere.
Yeah, I even saw a tool once which helps you decide which tool to use. I can't
Exactly.
find it. I need a tool to find the tool, but honestly, it seemed pretty interesting at the time.
Yeah.
So, Jason, we spoke about this a little bit before. You mentioned about how you maybe break down the sales process to kind of identify needs or in an early stage. So, do you want to talk us through a little bit about that and how you would suggest someone breaks down their sales process to understand what it is that they need?
Yeah. So I mean, one of the things that we do, we sort of step back with clients, and we use, I love a whiteboard. Sit down with a whiteboard, and literally on the board we draw out a giant triangle, all right, or a diamond, whatever you want to call it, diamond more, and we talk about the 4 key stages of a sales process. And I always say to people, don't go looking for the solutions, kind of work out internally what you actually do and what you actually need, and then apply that after. It's really fascinating. We do this as a workshop, and you get members of the team going, we do that? I didn't know we did that. And so as you start to document it down, you can go, like, okay, what's the discovery stage? What's the commercial stage? What's the contract stage? And I think the whiteboarding is a really great visualization of getting that down. And as I say, you can then take that knowledge and then go look for a platform that kind of, or technology that suits your own requirements. So that's always a first point for us. We always get the feedback of it, like blinking out, that felt like a therapy session. So it's a really good feedback that we get.
I bet. And Nick, like, I know obviously part of what Force 24 do, but how do you assess what tech, or how do you suggest someone assesses what tech they should be using? Maybe depending on where someone is on their life cycle stage. What's the sort of assessment look like?
Yeah, no, good question. I think yeah, the key thing is where they are on the life cycle. I mean, what we do with marketing automation, it's a tool that enables our clients to send out personalized communications at scale. One of those key areas is lead generation, and I think that's probably the one to consider most today. But I think what you have to be thinking about is are we right at the start of the journey? Are we really clear about our points of differentiation in the marketplace before we even start thinking about running campaigns? Do we really know what are the things that stands out about us? What are the things that are going to give us that product market fit? Before we even think about what that looks like within a campaign. So and then from there, can we create some content around it? And then if we're going to be doing a lead generation campaign, have we got the resource sales-wise to be following up on those leads effectively? Should we close them? Are we going to be able to deliver those leads and those conversions into the business effectively and manage that customer delight? So those are some of the things that we think about. In terms of evaluating technology, at the start of the journey, sorry.
Background noise. Does Brett need to jump in? I can. Brett, do you want to jump in on sort of how you assess a company's sort of readiness for either your tool or just in general what they might go through to think about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we've tried to implement recently, especially in terms of the climate we're in, is how can we demonstrate commercial impact as early as possible in the sales cycle. So we want to try and bring return on investment cases as early as possible into that sales cycle to hopefully influence how they assess Leadoo and how ultimately it can obviously deliver more on the bottom line. That has really helped us to accelerate the sales cycle right now, and also puts us front of mind in terms of what tech that business might implement. I think if you can give some sort of guide around you know, what you can add to the bottom line, that's really going to help your case to ultimately hopefully be chosen as a potential vendor for a business. So, you know, it's quite top of mind here at the minute, and that's what we've assessed, and especially since the summer, we've started to bring that to the fore in the sales cycle. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm back now, guys. Sorry about that. How's your alarm going off? This is your mid-sentence on it. I did pick up bits of what Brett was saying, and I totally agree with all of that. I mean, where I think I got to with it was just around, you know, do we have that content in place? Do we have the resource across the business to manage those opportunities effectively and make sure that we deliver on them? Those are some of the key considerations. At the start of a lead generation journey, it's often good to look at outsourcing it. And this is where the businesses like, you know, BD Matters really come to the fore to see that, you know, we can manage those opportunities effectively. And then we can look at, you know, really bringing on the right technology for our business once we've got that flow of opportunities coming in and being dealt with effectively.
But what would any of you guys say to someone who's maybe a bit more tech averse and risk averse, and you know, there's a lot out there, and I think there's a lot of people still thinking, well, let's do it old school. Why can't we just, you know, attend events and, you know, pick up the phone and DM and stuff like that? I mean, is there a case that have we all gone a bit tech crazy and sometimes we could be a bit more human?
Yeah, well, I think this is a really important point, actually, Adam, and it's a thing that we're talking about in our business a lot. It's really maintaining that human contact, and a lot of those old school channels that you're talking about are really, really important, that you still have those aligned with the technology that you use. What we mustn't do is become so automated that we become really transactional. We're just using tech for all of our conversations. It's certainly our area. So where we like to see is that, you know, tech really aids those human conversations. A lot of what our thinking is around with our platform is, can we humanize the communications that go out digitally that align with the actual human conversations that the salespeople are going to be having? So it's not a replacement, certainly. It's to enhance.
Anyone else on that point about humanizing tech?
Yeah, and I think like I completely agree with everything that both like Nick and Brett just said. And I think on the like human side as well, I think the key role of the really good systems now is to emulate like the human interaction. There's also, of course, you automate part of the process, like the email sends, the templates that you write, and the times and who you're going to talk to. But even those systems, they need to be really good at like avoiding spam's word, knowing when to send, not blacklisting like domains and all of this. So it's a conjunction of like, obviously we're never going to replace human interaction. That like part of the sales process is really important, but also like choose tools that will allow you to, even like when you automate process, to still like keep that characteristic of like, we are human, we are here, we are a team, we're not just like a robot like talking to you or just like spamming your emails all the time.
Yeah, I think that sometimes that comes down to sales culture as well, and the pressures that are put on sales teams, doesn't it? Because ultimately you squeeze someone to do something in an unrealistic expectation, and they will act in a way that maybe isn't so human, or, you know, and I think sometimes I was quite nervous about using any automation even about 2-3 years ago in my business. I was like, no, it can't be replicated, it has to be human. And I've like you, I've started to learn how to use those tools in a way that can still be tailored and personalized and well thought through. But I do get that there's still people sort of thinking, well, no, it's too risky and it's too complex to sort of get their head around.
I mean, I look at it from our perspective, you know, from a CRM perspective, we still have to go into people and say, you still have to pick the blinking phone up. You still have to have meetings. You still have to get online and chat to people. You know, the tools are there to, you know, nurture, to stimulate, to get growth. But at some point, the human interaction is absolutely critical to the process. So using automation to engage with someone is brilliant. But I think, you know, we get salespeople now, like, we'll just automate it. Well, no, just pick the phone up and chat to someone and talk. You know, we still need human interaction at some point in the sales process. You know, it's still the case where people buy from people. And I still think that, you know, people are further down the sales process. That is absolutely true. but that you still have to have elements of interaction. Small, small widgety stuff that you sell very, very quickly. Yes, you can get away with it, but I think as soon as anything has a sort of a significant value, then I think a salesperson coming in and doing their job is absolutely critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to add to that as well, and I think face-to-face meetings are still really important where possible. But during the pandemic, it's like obviously all of that went. We all did meetings on Zoom and Teams, but when bringing that back at the right time, it's super powerful. Still seeing the whites of the eyes, as long as they're at the right stage of the funnel and the deal is worth doing. We love getting out and actually seeing people again.
And so, with new tech, I come across new tech all the time, right? And it can be seductive. You're like, oh, look, you're interested. Let's do a demo of this. How do you suggest people build that into their lives a little bit? Like, do you kind of advocate that people should sort of test and learn as they go? Is there this kind of blueprint that we should go back to and say, well, hold on, this doesn't fit within our blueprint, therefore it's not right? Or is it a case of like sitting down every 6 months and just reviewing the sales process and saying, where are the gaps? Where can it be better? What's your thoughts around that?
If I could just jump in there, because I was going to go on to this in that last question. I think CRM is absolutely critical here to assess, performance indicators across the funnel. That usually points you in the right direction to understand, well, these are where the gaps are, these are where the opportunities are in terms of enhancing our sales process or even switching it up. I think use those performance indicators across each stage of the sales process and funnel to help you, help guide you on how you optimize the process, and bring the salespeople into it. Exactly right there, Adam, in terms of, should we, sit down and discuss it? Absolutely. They're the guys on the front line. It's really important to get their feedback on how things are going and obviously how they are enjoying or maybe not enjoying the sales process.
Yeah, it all makes sense. I think we'd all agree that sort of CRM sort of sits at the heart of everything, really. And so you're using almost that tech to advise on other tech, right? And analyzing that data. So I guess a huge part of that is around the visualization of data and what it's telling you. And I think sometimes we can use tools, but then are we assessing the tool? You know what I mean, in the right way? Do we know how to? Like I've implemented CRM systems and not really before looked at the dashboards that much. So then you can argue that it's only doing part of its job. You're not really doing enough to sort of analyze.
I was just to tag on to that, Adam. I was the same. Never really delved into CRM that much, but I've taken a lot of time out this year to make sure that my dashboards are on point. They're telling me everything I need to know. They're indicating to me quickly and early where we need to optimize that sales process. Really, really important as sales leaders, salespeople, in particular salespeople, that they're aware of their individual numbers as well across the sales funnel, because that in turn can help guide the team in terms of how we improve that sales process. So really important, everyone is across their numbers and making sure that the dashboards are there to help them be across them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it gets rid of that subjectivity of like, well, I think our conversion rate is this, or I think we're stronger in that area. And you always get those debates that go on at like in the board level, and it's like, well, hold on a minute, we can actually tell you that.
The data never lies.
Exactly. I'll come to you, Jason, because obviously CRM is at your heartland, and I think when it comes to CRMs, there's always a debate. There's like all-in-one solutions that can sort of do everything, or there's the best of sort of breed approach. What's your thinking around that, like in terms of helping people navigate what CRMs they need and should be using?
I think we look at it from two perspectives. We look at it as whether they're a heavily sales-based process, where they've got salespeople on the ground, or they go down one end, or they're heavily at the marketing, the nurturing end. I think we come at it at best of breed. I think with a lot of platforms out there's a lot of integration now, which works really well. So pick the right system to do the specific job for you, and then link in the other platforms, I think is a much better idea. Otherwise you end up with, if we take an ERP system for clients and you use the CRM system, you're going to get shot in the foot. I don't think there's any decent ERP CRM systems out there Whereas, you know, it looks good at the beginning, but it's much better to go, well, let's put the decent CRM system that's good, like something like Pipedrive as an example. You know, that's a sales tool. So you let the salespeople use that. And then, you know, you come along with sort of like Force 24 for the marketing automation stuff. And then you get best of breed, you get the job that you need to do. And I think that's absolutely critical to make it work. You know, I think as we were saying, what Brett was saying, I think is critical as well. Get the salespeople involved. You know, it's them doing the job. It's them using the system. You know, we have a lot of people who come to us, and I won't mention any names, you know, with big CRM systems that are just saying they're so unwieldy. I can't use them. You know, I don't want to use them. And that's when you get kind of the bad press about the whole CRM system. So I think it's really important to get the right tool for the right size. Budget obviously comes into it. You know, there are bigger systems that are more expensive. You've got to bear that in mind. But, you know, buy the best that you can afford at the time. And I always say to people, particularly people who are starting out in business first time, get something in place straight away, you know, because I think that education, that learning, I think that becomes critical as you grow the business. So know who your customers are, know who your contacts are, know what's working for you, know where your bottlenecks are. Do that right at the front, and it's not expensive. And, you know, if it closes one deal extra a year, generally that will pay for, you know, even the most basic CRM system straight off. So absolutely vital.
Yeah, just to add to that, I totally agree with Jason. I think, you know, what you want to endeavour to do is bring together your tech stack with best of breed, exactly as Jason speaks to there, where you've got potentially Leadoo at front end, you've got CRM, Pipedrive, Force 24. The key thing here is to make sure if you're looking at integrations, that the integration is fit for purpose. Because a lot of the time you'll look at tech and go, oh yeah, it's integrated, right, tick in the box. But is it fit for your business? Is it a two-way flow of data? Are the fields mapped effectively across CRM and could be an automation platform? So really dig into that if you're looking to integrate best of breed platforms.
Yeah. Sorry,
Go.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, I completely agree with everything. Integration is the key thing. CRM irreplaceable. Doesn't matter what tool you have, it's the CRM that's going to give you, not just for sales, but like speaking from a marketing perspective, your marketing team, what kind of content they need to produce to support sales, what stage the leads are. So basically you can like really focus the efforts and the marketing spend on the right areas really and see what is converting best. And the other thing is that you got to start somewhere. Maybe you're not going to get like it the first time round, but just having something visual that both like sales, marketing can look at and see exactly like where leads are taking longer to convert, or, you know, the few minor adjustments that you can do. And it's only like over time that you're going to get to that stage. Maybe you don't need like a super detailed report to start with. You just need a one visual representation of what is happening and what you can do about it to support your sales team.
Yeah, definitely. I think with a lot of this, and I think Jason, you picked up on it a little bit when in your answer, you sort of talked about the people and start using a CRM from day one, and it's getting into that sort of cultural piece. And, you know, like you said, the tech is only as good as the people that are going to use it and update it. And if that's not being done, then it's kind of becomes redundant, right? Same way like Force 24, if you're not using the level of like sort of marketing capabilities it has, you're not really utilizing the platform well enough. So the resources and the way you use these tools are so important to what you're doing. And we come across a lot of business owners who, they know they should be using CRM, but then they're also like, the teams just don't want to update the CRM. They don't want to go into it, and they don't keep up to date. And then you end up sort of inheriting this kind of legacy database that's not cleansed, all out of date, 10 more fields than you possibly ever needed. I mean, I don't know if you've got any, maybe mainly looking at you, Jason, but any of you guys have got advice on this in terms of sort of how do you get that cultural adherence to tech right from day one?
I think the two things I always suggest to people is don't ask somebody to do something over here and over here. Okay, so if you've got an Excel spreadsheet that you're putting your forecasting data in, stop. All right, the only data that's available is in CRM, so that, you know, when we talk to salespeople, say we're not asking you to change anything, we're just asking you to use something different. So, you know, and that comes top down. You know, if the senior management team is saying, right, I want the forecast, I want it in Excel, instantly you've killed that whole process. And I think that's critical to the whole thing. I think the other thing as well, and this does take a bit of time, is that if it's not in the CRM, it doesn't exist. So if you made 50 phone calls this morning, that's absolutely fantastic, because I'm taking my data from what's in CRM. So if you've not moved a deal, if you've not booked your meetings, And once again, it's a habit. It's a habit of logging your emails. It's a habit of putting your meetings in. But same thing again, if you're only taking it from one place, then suddenly you'll find that you'll get buy-in, all right? And it has to come, it has to be a top-down approach as well. And that to us is a really good way of saying, just continue doing, just do it somewhere else, and then it will start to work. And I think the other thing that we're quite happy when we implement CRMs, we tell people you're going to go through 3 stages. So first stage is always in this exciting, something new's happening. Second stage is bloody system, I hate it. All I do is key data in. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. Third stage is, which is where I usually come back in, is this is absolutely fantastic. How did we survive without it? Because it's that effort you've got to put in at the beginning, which most people don't go through. And it's later on when they get past that process that they come back and say, yeah, actually, this works really, really well. I've got my forecasting data. I've got my contact data. I've got everything in one place, you know, and that's where the real benefits come back to people. So that's what we always teach when we're getting people to use the system.
It's like reversing habits a little bit. It reminded me of like trying to someone to stop smoking or something like that. You know, you just kind of go through the pain, but then get through to the other side. Maybe we could learn more from the pharma industry. I don't know.
I have CRM patches on people's. Yeah.
It's a great idea, Jason.
Jump in there, Adam. You mentioned culture. You know, how do we get the culture and I think mindset as well. I listened to and I posted this on LinkedIn the other day. I showed a video to my sales team, a clip of the High Performance podcast. Sam Tompkins, a rugby league player, I don't know if anyone knows him, who talks about the 1% efforts. CRM, absolutely massive, and I would class that as making sure your admin and everything is up to date is contributing to 1% efforts. 1% efforts ultimately helps you to bring deals in. Deals are obviously important. Everyone wants deals, but without those 1% efforts, making sure CRM is accurate, up to date all of the time is redundant if it's not happening. So as a salesperson, making sure that you're doing that is absolutely critical to make sure and give yourself the best chance of getting those deals in and hitting targets. So 1% efforts for me, and that's sort of the mindset we've tried to bring in here at Leadoo in the last 15 months. And the salespeople hate talking about CRM admin, trust me, firsthand, but they are super all over it now, you know, because they understand the importance of it.
Yeah, I guess it's that marginal gain and that competitive edge, isn't it? That constantly you're talking about.
The best salespeople, Adam, out there are concentrating on the 1% efforts. Yeah. Little things like that are huge.
Yeah, no, agreed. What about some of the dangers or pitfalls, you know, that businesses should be aware of, you know, when adopting new technology? I don't know if Nick, you want to jump in on that in terms of what could go wrong?
Yeah, I think, you know, that they really need to understand at the outset what is going to be their level of commitment required. I think a lot of people buy tech, and you know, in some instances they may be oversold in some way. They think it's just going to be the answer to all of their problems, and there's going to be no resource, no commitment required their end, and that's rarely the case. So, you know, they really need to understand and ask the right questions with the suppliers they're speaking to around what is required of me, and really get into in terms of time and, you know, right across the company, which departments, what's going to be our input, and then really try and work out the return that you're likely to get from that investment. Really get into that with the salespeople of any tech that you're looking at, and ask, you know, really detailed questions. Get to the nth degree around, if we do this, this, and this will be our commitment, what will be our likely return in our business? You must start there, and then go back to that in your, you know, over the course of the term of working with them. Go back to that original plan, that promise. Are you hitting those targets?
I guess it's you don't know what you don't know. I'm thinking about my own journey a little bit in that regard as well. You kind of go through this process, and obviously, as you know, if a salesperson is selling you a SaaS technology or a new tool, they're going to sell the benefits and how great it is, and maybe they might not point out, you know, pitfalls or things that could go wrong. So I do sort of empathize sometimes with people that are sort of buying these tools, and I think, you know, it's been a process of kind of trying one system, and through using that system, you learn a lot about yourself, your own processes, and what you need and what you don't need, and what you maybe need in a future tool. And do you think that's just a case of like, trial and error and sort of just going on the journey and embracing those pains and those changes? Or do you think, people should bring in external consultants to help sort of guide them and advise them in this kind of direction?
I think it would be difficult for any of us to say, no, you shouldn't bring in external consultants. I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. I think just pitching for itself. I think the one thing that if you're buying tech, like anything, like you buy a car, it doesn't do everything. And I think a lot of times, people buy a piece of software and they think, well, I just assumed it would do that. And I think you've got to be really careful with that kind of mindset of going, like anything else, it's just, it's something out there that you can use to do a particular job for you. And you've just got to find the best fit for you. But don't assume that this is the eureka moment, that you found the perfect tool that's going to do everything for you and suddenly life is going to be cushy. I think, what Nick was saying, you've got to be aware also that it takes effort. Any tech takes effort, but it's worth it in the long run. And I think that's really what you've got to bear in mind. So it's an investment of time, it's an investment of effort, it's an investment of resources, but the payback is brilliant. So
yeah, I mean, one of the things we've seen, and obviously I've seen this with, we work with Force 24 and Outbase, is the level of support, right, which has been so important to us, as we go through that process. So I think, for anyone out there sort of listening, I think it's really important that you do talk about the onboarding process and the level of support you get after you implement the tool, because there will be things that you don't know and things will go wrong. It's just inevitable. And, like you said, you'll find out things all the time. So I think it'd be interesting to hear maybe from you, Aline, on Nick, in terms of, I know you put a lot of advocacy on your support and, whether it's chatbots and things like that, like, how important is that for you guys? And how do you use that as part of the sales process to sort of win people over?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I think from Outbase, obviously, we are a SaaS platform, which is software as a service. We're not like a agency that manages accounts. So basically, we come from the principle that everything that we build has to be easy enough for anyone who joins Outbase, understands exactly what we're doing, how to do, and what results to expect from that. And I think that's really would be my advice. Any platform that you look, we touched on this before, it has to have integration with any system that you're already using and it works for you. It should be something to add, and it has to be intuitive, unless you have the time to really train people or hire more people to actually manage that one service for you, which is most of the times is unlikely. So choose the ones that will do most of the things that you need in an easy way that will require minimal effort from people from actually understanding how to use it so they can see the value. And the other thing would be consistency as well with support. So as I said, the more you use the platform, the more you find out things that you didn't even know that you don't know. And that's where you need, it has to be systems that is really easy for you to find the answers that you need. Either it's someone that us being a SaaS, we still have the human support. If you join Outbase and you're on the chat, you're still going to talk to an actual human being. So I think those things you can't really not give it the importance that it is having proper support through the process. And the other thing would be around data as well. Just answer just a tiny bit of the previous question, is you can have the best system ever, but it all depends on how you're going to feed it, not just how you keep it up to date. I did a research last year with 500 professionals of marketing and sales. Only 25% of the professionals said they keep their database up to date. And especially after the pandemic, I think 50% of the database that you had in the past 12 months went out of date already. So if you feed that into your CRM system, it could be the best system ever, but it's not going to work because obviously the data that you put in there is not really correct anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Adam. I just think it's been. I know Brett will come in on this because Leadoo operate in a very similar way as we do, and Aline does. It's very much about tech and people, and that support is absolutely key. And we buck the trend in our marketplace in marketing automation by offering a 2-minute SLA. So we respond within 2 minutes on phone or in app, so that our clients never feel that they're working in isolation. So it's absolutely key. I mean, I think there was a period where tech firms just wanted to sell tech, and that was really affecting their valuations. But did it really work for the clients? Not a lot of the time. I mean, there's still lots of businesses out there, but why do they work with, you know, companies like Jason's? Because they need the people support alongside the tech to make sure that it's fit for purpose for their business. So yeah, we think it's key.
And on that point Aline made about databases as well, you know, how does someone go about cleaning and organizing a messy sort of database and getting their data quality sorted?
I think this is where like it goes back to the point of this conversation that we're having, how tech can support. Just going back to this research that I mentioned before, it's really hard for anyone to keep the data up to date, like as a manual job, because like if you're doing prospecting, for example, people change his job all the time, especially after like the pandemic. There was this massive wave of people just like changing jobs. That's why data went out of date quite quickly. So I think that's really like tech can support. So you still have like the human side of like closing the deals, having the conversations, but actually providing your sales team with qualified leads. That's really where tech can help, because just trying to keep from my experience and from the clients that we've seen, especially people who sign up to Outbase, the main reason they do that is because not just they have the need of speaking to more people, a larger audience, but actually it's quite hard to keep data up to date as a manual process.
Yeah, constant struggle, you know, for us and things. We're always finding it is out of date, and obviously it has a massive effect on sort of deliverability, you know, which you were talking about before. Brett, in terms of sort of, you know, the tool Leadoo and you know how that works, what, you know, how is that comparing, like from a lead generation perspective? Because that works directly from a website, right? That pulls people straight through. So, you know, compared to sort of classic outreach and lead generation, how does that compare, or do you see that as a complementary product that sits alongside it, or is it kind of generating far better quality of leads?
Well, it's definitely a complementary product, like with something like marketing automation, like Force 24. So ultimately, Leadoo is about engaging with passive website traffic. We know that, especially in this climate as well, marketers out there need to deliver more with less. The biggest opportunity that we try to educate prospects and clients on is ultimately, really, your website is that biggest opportunity. There's so many website visitors coming to the website right now that probably are teetering on the edge of perhaps getting in touch with you, but aren't. So Leadoo is all about engaging them into a conversation on the website, and then ultimately into a conversion. So, you know, we know that pool of website visitors is a huge opportunity for marketers out there, and it's complementary with things like CRM, marketing automation. Absolutely, it goes hand in hand. So, like Nick said, and he probably should have a sales role with Leadoo. He's sold it better than me, but in terms of that front end aspect, it works beautifully with the next step in the journey in terms of a conversion into CRM and then the sales team. So. And yes, absolutely, it's all about driving better quality, ultimately through pre-qualifying leads. We want to ascertain quickly, are we qualifying this lead in or out? And the chatbots do that wonderfully, and help the sales team know where to go next with that lead.
I guess at the core of that, like other tools, ultimately what we're talking about is sort of personalization, right? And is that kind of, you know, what we're trying to get to? I know, like, obviously in Outbase, you can use various variables and build different lists in different ways. Obviously, Force 24 probably and CRMs allow you to be hyper personalized, right? In we're talking like dynamic content and all sorts of stuff that it can pull in. Is that the holy grail, that everybody eventually receives their own tailored piece of comms?
Look, just to jump in there, just before Nick's, you know, I guess the guys are probably better placed to comment that than me. But I think what's important to remember is, and you talked at the start of the webinar about humanizing things, especially from a Leadoo perspective, not just to plug us, but we're all about aligning to where the client is or customer is in their buying journey. It's okay hyper personalizing things with all sorts of different data, but if you're not aligning where they are in their buying journey, it's almost pointless. So it's really important that you do the two, hyper-personalize and align to where they are in their buying journey, because ultimately that is ultimate customer centricity. And that's what every customer wants. So just wanted to add that there.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think we would see, with hyper personalization, a big part of that is where they are in the journey, because that is where the relevance really comes in. If someone is, right at the start of their journey and you're sending communications with discounted offers, that isn't personalizing in the right way. So yeah, I mean, it's right at the heart of all of our thinking. How can we personalize the communications in a cross-channel way, so that, coming back to our earlier point, when you do that, the communications become much more human because they're much more relevant. And one of the big considerations on this, particularly with email, is deliverability. I know you just touched on it, Adam, but one of the key areas of getting good deliverability is making sure that the comms that we send out are relevant and personalized. If we're not doing that, it's going to lead to poor deliverability really, really quickly.
So you're putting that emphasis on the sort of the marketing and the quality of the marketing, which I think GDPR has come in more recently, has helped push in a good way, I think, us to think more about the quality of our marketing and making sure that we're not ending up in junk boxes and being blocked and things like that. I think definitely.
Yeah, well, it's getting harder and harder to get in the inbox. We talk about it like the kind of the new SEO, where it needs a continual investment in it. I think people think about sending emails, it's a bit like Royal Mail. All your letters will go into a sack. It may take them a few days to deliver, but they'll get there eventually. Case, if we're sending pots of data that's out of date or lots of unengaged data, all of those letters are going to be thrown in the bin. None of them are going to be getting to our designated target. So we focus really heavily on this with our clients, more now than ever, I think. And it's a number of things that we do. It's making sure that all the technical things are set up in the right way without getting too technical and boring on this. The things like DMARC, DKIM that make sure it's not anti-spoofing, that you've got domain encryption, all the technical things, but then really helping clients on are we being ruthless with unengaged data? Are we stripping it out? Are we being relevant? Are we personalizing in the right way? Making sure that the content is right for our market, all of those things to improve deliverability, as well as data validation. Should we take a pot of data and match it to known email addresses where we strip out those that are bad, strip out those that are risky, leaving us with a better pot? All of these things are becoming more and more important to get in the inbox.
Yeah. Sorry, Jason, do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, I kind of leading on from what Nick was saying about, I think the big thing also that a lot of people need to utilize is automation or nurture processes rather than bulk email. There's a big pushback on kind of bulk emails, because bulk emails will go through, they'll get monitored by the email service providers to see whether they're any good. Whereas if you're drip feeding out nurtured emails over a period of time to a relevant person at the relevant stage in their sales journey, that's a lot more effective. That's much more likely to get through than kind of sending out thousands of emails. And, we're massive believers in kind of, let's drip feed people out. Let's send, multiple emails over a day, but do them in, ones and twos. And then the effectiveness of that can be much better as well. And also looking at people like time zones and, looking at people, what's the best time to send an email to a particular type of person. All effective ways of getting through and landing on their desk. So I think it's really important to sort of utilize nurturing email campaigns more so than sort of the bulk, big bulk emails all going out in one go. So.
Yeah. Is that go on, Lee? Did you want to jump in?
No, I was just going to say that I second that, and just picking up of what Nick said. Personalization is a lot more than hi, first name from X company. It's actually like, what challenges are they facing? What is the climate in the industry they're in? And all of these you can do with more laser targeted campaigns with smaller audiences that you can like really build that relationship, and the consistency as well in the communication that you send out. Know what you're gonna say and like how many times you're gonna say this, because in terms of prospecting emails, 80% of the conversions, they happen on the follow-up emails, not in the intro. It's not like one email they're gonna send out to people and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna book a call. It's most likely it's gonna be like on the second, third email, but doing it in a way that is not a spam that you're sending them 10 emails a day. So it's just like all those automations that again tech can help with, like when to send, when, like what time zone, what spam words to avoid, keep it concise, and just offer the solution for the problem that they need. Really sounds a lot more simple than it is in reality, but that's basically what you need to do.
I was going to ask, because so it sounds like, I mean, to do that effectively, that's a lot about different triggers, right? To identify where people are on certain journeys and then what to send them out. So, I mean, that sounds quite complicated in terms of like, you know, in a reality to deliver. But is that what it's what we're kind of alluding to is sort of lead scoring based on engagement, and then also kind of putting a criteria around where people are on a certain journey, on top of personalization. Is that the gist of it? Get that right? You're fine.
Yeah, just get that right. Yeah, just those few things together, and you're away. Yeah, no, but you are right. The lead scoring is key for us to understand the point of engagement of our contacts, and it's a massive one for us. What we're able to do with lead scoring is look at how they're responding to our campaigns, but then what is their movement across our websites? Are they coming back later on? All of these things score differently, which gives us a kind of engagement matrix of our prospect data. So that means that when the leads come into the sales team, they're focusing their efforts on the most engaged, and also can have more informed conversation, because we can see what's engaged, what hasn't, which is the content that's really pushed their buttons, what they've been looking on our website, so we can really tailor the conversations.
We work with a number of clients. We kind of work on a process called the perfect sales cycle. And the idea behind it is it's really quite simple. There are 8 different stages within a journey, and every person in the database has a logical next stage. So that can be from someone visiting the website, you know, the next logical stage for them is to, you know, engage. That could be a long-term customer who's been buying but not really buying more. There's a next logical stage. There could be somebody who's maybe gone all the way through the sales opportunity process but not actually made the purchase. There's a next logical stage. And I think if you apply that as a ruling, it's then fairly obvious within the system to go, okay, what can we do with this particular person, or in this case, this group of people, to move them on to the next. And that's a really important part of the process, to sort of develop. And that I said at the beginning, you know, mind mapping that process out and going, okay, where can we go? I think is a critical part of the whole, you know, which tech is right for me sort of process. So.
Yeah, and I think that stages thing is really interesting, because often, you know, depending on who you're talking to, you know, some business owners could just look at maybe marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads, and then it's kind of straight into proposal. But I think almost what we're saying, and what I think is a good way, is to break down the sales process into more stages, but on purpose, because understanding that there's lots of little micro stages that people will move through is almost better if you acknowledge that, then you don't bucket people too much, and you don't try and grab them into a stage, because it might be that they need to go through 3 mini stages to get to the next stage. And so in our heads, I know we all want to sell and we want to close the deal. So I think sometimes we oversimplify the sales process, whereby if you've looked at that sales process and went, well, what if it was 2 years? And what if they, you know, you said 8, but what if there was 16, you know, for example? That would help. I think that would help businesses to kind of think of it in that way, as opposed to going, well, no, we just want to go from here. We want to get MQL, SQL, lead. You know, I think it's oversimplifying it. I think could be damaging to the implementation of tech and the way they nurture those people.
I think the other thing to build into that when you're building the sales process also is to think about not what you want their journey to be, but what's actually the potential prospect's journey. You know, what are they going to have to do to get your tech on board? And so when you're selling, you know, they've got to go through due diligence. They've got to all this stuff. So the sales process is more around how do you move them through their internal process, their purchasing process. And I think that's a really important part to look at it from the customer's perspective and go, yeah, we need to help them. Okay, they need to go and, funding, right? They need, okay, how do we help with that? They need budget, they need approval, right? How do we help with that? All these different things, and redevelop the sales process around that, rather than you say, right, they're at MQL, brilliant, isn't that fantastic? It doesn't mean anything to the customer, or the potential customer. You've got to reverse engineer that as well. So,
yeah, I'd agree with that. I think with the sales process, it's very easy just to think that it's this stage, then this stage, then this stage, but often it's not linear. Often prospects can come in at different stages, and you have to loop back round. And I think this is why having some sort of qualification methodology, we use MedPick in our business. That gives you the ability to know where you are in that sales process and have you ticked all the correct boxes. But it's making sure that we can go with the flow and not force prospects into a process that has worked for us in the past.
Yeah, I totally agree with Nick there. I think he's spot on. I think, we talked about buying, where prospects are in their buying journey. I think it's so important to find that early in the sales process. If you can do that, then flex the sales process. Like Nick says, it's not the same for everyone. It doesn't need to be. And the salespeople that you've got in your team will be capable of taking a buyer down a different journey dependent on where they are. So it's really important that the sales process is flexible. I also agree with what Jason said. Just to add something on that, I think every stage has to have a customer verifiable outcome. So it's a two-way street. Has the customer agreed or sent us what they need to send us for an ROI calculation or whatever it might be? Have we taken that customer and have they agreed to move to the next step if they do X, Y, and Z? It's not just about us. We need the customer to come to the table too. So customer verifiable outcome at every stage is really important.
Yeah, well, it goes back to what we said at the beginning. It's about get the customer first, understand their challenges and the cycles they go through, and what could happen, because they're inevitably going to try your tech out, then they're going to try out 5 competitors, then they're going to do, that's just real. So don't oversimplify it and realize that there are going to be those things, and you can, like you said, you can then build the tech around that. So we've got 4 minutes left. Just if there's anyone who's got any questions in the chat, do chuck anything in that you do want to ask the guys before then. I was going to sort of raise the point just about hidden sort of automations and workflows and things like that. So we talked a little bit about what the customer's seeing all the time. I don't know about you, I don't know enough about Leadoo, Brett, like how it works, but I suppose with every interaction, there's data happening in the back end that's also telling us things, right? And we can learn from those things that just might have different implications to the content we're putting out, or just it's constantly about, it's like CRO, isn't it? It's constantly tweaking like UX or language and stuff like that. So, or making processes more efficient. So is that like a key part, I guess, with your tool, Brett? Do you do that in the back end, and is how companies to do more of that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a big marketing attribution part of our platform, which is huge. It's added layers above what something like Google Analytics would give a marketer. But the key thing with a platform like ours, and many out there, to be fair, is it's really key in aligning sales and marketing teams. If they can see what's affecting lead generation, what's working, what's not, you're going to be able to optimize the go-to-market strategy together to get the best bang for your buck, if you like. So having as much access to key data as possible across the funnel and beyond is absolutely critical to aligning those two teams. So absolutely, yeah, it's a big part of our platform.
And Aline, are you in terms of like emails, like with the emails going out via your platform, I'm sure there must be lots of learnings about what's working and what's not, right? So there's all these like hidden bits that happen in the background.
It is. So obviously, like within our system, you can check reports, you can get as granular as you want, like specific by lead, or you can look at industries. And you can also, I think the other important as well is like benchmarking. So you can actually see like against the whole like universe of email marketing, how is your campaign comparing to, or within that industry as well? Because Because there's obviously like this also tells you like what are other people doing there that maybe we're not doing at this stage that could like help us improve it. I think sometimes we get like we spend a lot of time looking at ourselves like what we are doing, how we can do this. It's like what is out there that actually like we could potentially adapt to our reality here. And with marketing, like yeah, spot on. Like obviously sales, they have their very like clear goals that they have to achieve every month, but marketing is there to support. So we need to know exactly where are leads getting stuck, where is the process getting more complicated, that we can actually with comms or if other like marketing resources to really help sales to navigate that cycle.
Yeah, great. And then last point, Jason, I think you mentioned a stat to me, but I can't remember what it was. The potential revenue businesses are leaving on the table by not utilizing a CRM. Is there some sort of indication you can give to that?
The guides that we use is that if you implement a CRM properly, you can increase business by 30%. Looking at all the different, and I think
it's 13 hours.
I think it's a little bit of what Brett was saying earlier. It is the small percentages. It's all those incremental changes, like how do you increase the deal slightly, how do you increase the velocity of a deal, how do you make sure that you don't forget someone. So generally, the stats around 30% extra business off the back of putting in a decent CRM system is what's the guideline, right? I think
perfect. Thank you. Well, on that note, Nick, you got anything to add? Final words? There you go.
Yeah, my next meeting is just beeped up. Sorry, I was slightly distracted there.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought you were going to say something. That's all. But no, I think we've covered it all, and so I just wanted to thank you for your time, guys. Thank you, Jason, Nick, Aline, and Brett for being a part today. Yeah, as I said, we run these monthly, first Wednesday of every month at 12. So if you do want to join. We've got workshops that we run monthly as well, and meetups. And if you did want to find out about BD Matters, I'll put our sort of creds just into the chat there, so you can have a look and book a call if you want to find out more. We've got our Christmas party coming up, hopefully later this month as well. So yeah, love to see more from you guys, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.